Hey guys, Chris here. Wanted to talk about James Cameron's best movie from a entertainment standpoint. I'm not looking for the deep philosophical James Cameron, nor am I looking for the revolutionizing 3D James Cameron with Avatar. But if we just talk about his movies, with his very first film, Piranha 2: The Spawning. Now, I know he is in interviews, he's kind of distanced himself from this. He wanted to have his name removed from it, but let's be honest here, the Piranha series is kind of a B horror movie. As with anything in life, you kind of want to show your growth, where you started at and where you're at a certain point. He then went on to make the Terminator in 1984, and then gave us one of the best sequels in Aliens, from Ridley Scott's Alien to the Aliens film. And then he had his deep sea movie, The Abyss, followed by Terminator 2: Judgment Day in 1991. And then in 94 he had True Lies. And then, of course, 97 we were introduced to Titanic, which won 11 Academy Awards and is one of the highest grossing films of all time. And then that was followed up 12 years later with Avatar in 2009, and then in 2022 he gave us Avatar: The Way of Water. For me, Terminator 2 really is one of his best movies. It's easily enjoyable. You can go back, rewatch this film. It really kind of set a standard for action films at the time. Unfortunately, what should have been a finale to the Terminator series, with the destruction of the T-1000 and then the T-800 sacrificing itself and making sure it destroyed whatever was left of this, should have been the end of the Terminator series. But of course, with how well it did and how much money it made and everything, the studio saw an opportunity and decided to move forward with making more Terminator movies. And and they've just gotten worse. And I think one of the reasons why they've gotten worse is because they try to explain how Judgment Day happens, and the fact that it can't be changed, because all they're essentially doing is each time they're going back in time, they're just changing the point at which Judgment Day happens, and they're kind of establishing that fate can't be changed. It will happen one way or another. You may just delay the inevitable. But I really think, as far as James Cameron writing goes, with his early work, The Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, Terminator 2, True Lies, I think he had a much better grasp on what worked and what didn't work. And I could be completely wrong. Those may not have been written by James Cameron. I'm pretty sure he wrote the original Terminator and sold the script for, I'm not exact on this one, but I believe it was like $1. But with that, there was the contractual obligation that he got to direct the movie, which helped him out in a lot of ways. But yes, he did, as far as the writer goes, He did write Terminator, The Abyss, Terminator 2. It's interesting. He also wrote the screenplay for Rambo First Blood Part 2. But The Abyss, yeah, so as far as like his early work goes, writing wise, I thought it was much better than his newer stuff. Titanic has never been one of my favorite movies. It's too long for me, and outside of when the ship is actually going down, I find the romance of it not to be all that interesting. But that's me. So I know there's a lot of people out there that really love Titanic. They think it's a great movie. I just don't. I don't find it very entertaining, so it doesn't catch my interest, and I've never gone back and rewatched it. Avatar, watched it in 3D, and the 3D effects were revolutionary at the time. Seeing it in the big screen, there was the depth added to it, a layer that you just didn't get with most theatrical 3D movies at that time. And James Cameron, you can't deny that the guy has managed to bring about something with his movies that other films have kind of picked up on. He's revolutionized camera equipment as far as like the 3D aspect goes and everything. And it's a generic story, and there's a lot of articles that were written on how much of a cultural effect Avatar had, because it took essentially the story of Pocahontas and it used it to make a sci-fi adventure set on an alien world, but it kind of deals with the themes of colonization and everything, which Pocahontas had already done. So for me, Avatar is not really a culturally impactful movie because it does something other movies have done before. Dances with Wolves dealt with the same exact cultural impact of what does colonization do to indigenous people. Avatar: The Way of Water. The biggest issue I had with this movie is, the family goes and they move to kind of live with the water tribe, so to speak, but the humans have stopped going after unobtainium and they're now going after the brains or the jelly of these whales. And when they come searching for the whales where the water tribe lives, Sully or Scully or whatever his character's name was, played by Sam Worthington, is like, oh, they're here for me, but they weren't there for him. They were there for the brains and the jelly of the whales. And so there's too many goofy kind of plot holes, you could say, that make no sense in the movies, and there's dialogue that just doesn't feel right. But James Cameron movies, I love to go back and rewatch the early ones. The Terminator, it's such a great film. It introduces us to a Arnold Schwarzenegger who's a villain, and it's a great villain that you just, his iconic line of "I'll be back," it's not said as a means of, oh yeah, this is someone where you're waiting to come back. You're actually kind of like, please don't come back, because nobody's going to like it when you do. Aliens gave us a great moment with Ripley, and The Abyss. The Abyss is such a unique movie. It's I've always loved it. I've loved to rewatch it. True Lies was a great action comedy with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, I mean, he's given us some great movies throughout time, but I think his early work is really kind of where, in my opinion, he manages to live, is in the early work. His later stuff that we've gotten now is really, he figured out a formula for making movies that get the masses to go to and they'll watch, and they're not entirely horrible or offensive, but at the same time they're overly long, and sometimes for some people they're nothing. They're not palate cleansers, they're not palpable, they're just not enjoyable to watch for some people. But he somehow has figured out this formula to make these movies that get people to go and watch them. And I don't know if it's because of the fact that he is constantly trying to revolutionize the camera technology that he uses for his movies to try and do new things in a way that people want to go watch it and see what he's done, what he's managed to revolutionize, or what he's brought to the film that nobody else has managed to do. I mean, it really is one of those things where if I could figure out a way to monopolize or somehow make these videos that I do where they would just, I could continue to do what I want to do and kind of just talk about the things I like talking about, and talk with the people I like to talk to, and kind of build a community around the movies and games and everything in such a way that people are going to look at it and go, yes, that's what we're looking for. If I could somehow do what James Cameron does, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be such a terrible thing. But yeah, he somehow has managed to do exactly what he was looking to do. He as South Park has said, it's James Cameron doesn't do what James Cameron does for James Cameron. James Cameron does what James Cameron does because James Cameron is James Cameron. And it's true in a lot of ways that he's somehow managed to become the director that people just flock to his movies, and that's the films that we love to watch. And for some people now it's become we love to hate watch his movies. So if you want to leave a comment down below, let me know what your favorite James Cameron film is. Does James Cameron have a movie that he's made in the past that you love? Or has James Cameron never been a director that you've enjoyed watching any of his films? And leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye bye.